Kevin Stefanski looked calm behind the podium, but his words did the opposite. Each time he deflected questions about Shedeur Sanders and the New York Jets, it only deepened the sense that something inside Cleveland was breaking apart. The Browns' coach, usually composed and guarded, suddenly sounded defensive, dodging, pausing, and delivering phrases that hinted at chaos under the surface. Behind those brief exchanges was a franchise teetering between pride and panic, holding tight to a player they didn't fully believe in but refused to let go. And as the whispers grew louder, the entire league started treating this as more than rumor. It became a reflection of how unstable Cleveland's football culture might truly be.
If you're into the real story and all the messy twists they don't show on highlight reels, go ahead and subscribe. And if you're sticking around to see how this Browns QB chaos plays out, you should definitely be subscribed.
Now, with the Jets circling and the Browns refusing to budge from their inflated trade demand, the situation has turned into a public power struggle. Stefanski's guard approach has only fanned the flames, leaving both fans and analysts questioning his control of the locker room. Sanders' limited time on the field contrasts sharply with the price Cleveland is demanding, exposing the franchise's ego-driven decision-making. What began as a simple trade discussion has become an indictment of leadership, forcing Cleveland to face a brutal question. Are they managing a football team or starring in their own slow-motion collapse? Kevin Stefanski just dropped a bomb on the NFL, and now the league is in complete chaos. We're talking cryptic press conferences, trade rumors gone wild, and two franchises behaving like they're stuck in a reality TV feud. The center of the storm? Shedeur Sanders. Yes, Deion's son, the young QB with sky-high expectations and barely any NFL tape. And yet somehow, he's become the most talked-about chess piece in a high-stakes, drama-fueled standoff between the Cleveland Browns and the New York Jets. Let's get one thing straight. This isn't just another trade rumor. This has spiraled into a full-blown media spectacle, complete with fan meltdowns, Twitter wars, and Stefanski dodging questions like he's auditioning for Survivor. And if you think the Browns are handling it with grace and clarity, spoiler alert, they're not. At all. The chaos started brewing when whispers began to circulate that the Jets were eyeing Sanders as their potential franchise savior. Not a backup, not a long-term project. No, the guy. Desperation? Maybe. But in a league where one quarterback can flip a team's fortunes, the Jets are clearly willing to bet the farm. Their pursuit hasn't just been strong. It's been borderline obsessive. They want him, and they want him now. Cleveland, on the other hand, is playing a very different game. Instead of treating Sanders like the barely used rookie he is, they've slapped a second-round pick price tag on him. Yes, a second-round pick, for a player they've barely let off the bench. It's either an act of sheer confidence or complete delusion. And Kevin Stefanski? The man could win gold in the Olympic event of answering without saying anything. His press conferences have been an exercise in avoidance, packed with deflections, non-answers, and just enough passive defensiveness to set the internet on fire. Every time he steps up to the mic, fans brace themselves. Will we get clarity? A glimpse of strategy? Nope, just more smoke and mirrors, fueling even more speculation. Let's be honest. This wouldn't be such a big deal if the Browns had actually given Sanders a proper shot. But they haven't, despite injuries, despite tactical needs, despite the obvious potential he brings. He's been stuck in the background, underused and overlooked. And now, the team that's refused to develop him wants to act like he's a premium asset? That's not just mismanagement. It's delusional. And fans have noticed. Cleveland supporters are losing their minds over this. The frustration is boiling over. It's not just about the trade drama. It's about the bigger picture. The weird decisions. The lack of direction. The sense that the franchise is stuck in a loop of chaos, constantly trying to project confidence while everything behind the scenes falls apart. Meanwhile, Jets fans are on the complete opposite end of the emotional spectrum. They're hyped. They see Sanders as the answer, the missing piece, the future of their team. And who can blame them? When your offense has been running on fumes, any spark feels like salvation. The only problem? They're negotiating with a team that seems more interested in playing hardball than actually getting a deal done. And that's where things start to feel less like football and more like a soap opera. Cleveland's front office is putting on a masterclass in stubbornness. They're holding out, demanding a king's ransom for a rookie they've barely used. And it's not just business, it's personal. There's ego here, pride, a refusal to admit they might have mishandled the situation from the start. Behind the scenes, it's not hard to imagine the tension. Players wondering why Sanders isn't getting a shot. Coaches butting heads over roster decisions. A locker room that's already seen too much instability now, watching their franchise get dragged across every sports show in the country. And through it all, Stefanski keeps trotting out the same vague lines, hoping to keep the lid on a pot that's already boiling over. The media is having a field day. Every cryptic quote, every trade whisper, every awkward Stefanski sidestep, it's all fuel. Social media has turned into a meme factory, roasting the Browns' inflated trade demands and the Jets' thirst for Sanders. It's turned what should have been a low-key negotiation into an NFL-wide spectacle. Because at the end of the day, this isn't just about a quarterback. It's about a franchise losing its grip on reality. The Browns are treating Sanders like a secret weapon while refusing to use him. They've got a valuable asset sitting on the shelf, collecting dust. And instead of either playing him or trading him for a fair return, they're holding him hostage behind layers of organizational dysfunction. And let's not forget the timing. The trade deadline is looming. Every day the Browns wait. The stakes get higher. Do they finally give Sanders a shot and risk exposing how wrong they've been to sideline him? Or do they let this drag out, hoping anyone, will bite at their inflated asking price? Neither option looks good. And the longer this saga plays out, the more exposes the cracks in Cleveland's foundation. From the outside, it looks like a team clinging to pride over progress. Like a front office too afraid to admit they misplayed their hand. And like a coach caught in the middle, desperately trying to act like everything's under control when it's clearly not. Meanwhile, the Jets are just out here rolling the dice. They see Sanders as the prize and Cleveland as the obstacle. And they're not subtle about it. Their pursuit is loud, persistent, and full of high-stakes energy. They're ready to risk it all, because for them, it's not just about Sanders. It's about hope, and they've been running low on that for a while now. But here's the kicker. If Cleveland really believed in Sanders' potential, why haven't they shown on the field? Why the reluctance? Why the bizarre dance around his value? If they think he's worth a second-round pick, you'd expect to see him actually playing, not warming the bench, not hidden in the shadows. That contradiction is what makes this entire saga feel less like strategy and more like damage control. And maybe that's the real issue here. The Browns aren't acting like a franchise with a plan. They're acting like a team caught in its own web of indecision, ego, and confusion. And Kevin Stefanski, whether he likes it or not, is the public face of that mess. Every vague answer, every sidestep, every attempt to dodge accountability only adds fuel to the fire. This whole saga is a perfect snapshot of what happens when NFL franchises let pride and miscommunication take the wheel. Instead of clear decisions and decisive leadership, you get dysfunction disguised as strategy. You get press conferences that raise more questions than answers. You get trade demands that don't match reality. And you get a fan base that's running out of patience. The NFL has always been a mix of sport and spectacle. But this is next level. It's high-stakes poker with emotional baggage. It's a reality show with shoulder pads. It's two teams, one quarterback, and a ticking clock. And when that trade deadline hits, we'll finally see who blinked first. So here's the question. Do the Browns finally make the move? Do they let go of their pride and do what's best for the team? Or do they stay stuck in the cycle, dragging everyone down with them? And what happens if they do nothing? If they keep Sanders sidelined and let another season spiral into chaos? Whatever happens next, one thing's clear. This isn't just about Shedeur Sanders anymore. It's about the Browns' identity. It's about leadership. It's about whether this franchise can stop stepping on its own feet long enough to move forward. And until then, we'll be watching closely. If you're as deep in this drama as we are, hit that like button, share this with someone who's still clinging to Brown's optimism, and drop your thoughts in the comments, especially if you think the Jets should go all in. And don't forget to subscribe so you don't miss the next twist in this ongoing NFL soap opera. Because something tells us this story's far from over. Oh, you thought that was the end? No. this rabbit hole goes way deeper. Because when it comes to the Browns and Shedeur Sanders, what we're looking at isn't just a trade rumor gone rogue. It's a slow-motion organizational meltdown disguised as strategic patience. And at the center of it all, you've got Kevin Stefanski, dodging accountability like he's allergic to straight answers. Let's be real. When your head coach is more cryptic than a TikTok soft launch, that's not leadership. It's a red flag. Stefanski has now had multiple chances to calm the storm, and instead of clarity, he's opted for murky evasions. He'll say, "We're evaluating all options," or "Shedeur is a valuable part of this team," but somehow, those words mean nothing. It's like watching someone try to put out a fire with a spray bottle of Febreze. Useless and weirdly perfumed. And while he's busy giving interviews that sound like PR-approved puzzles, the locker room is reportedly stewing. Think about it. You've got a young, dynamic quarterback on the roster. The starting lineup has been plagued by injuries. The offense is limping, and yet no Shedeur. No starts. No real chances. Just silence. You don't have to be a football savant to see how that kind of decision-making would spark frustration across the team. Meanwhile, the Jets are practically camped out at Cleveland's front door. And they're not subtle about it. They want Sanders bad. Not as a project. Not as a second-string option. They want to build around him. That's how desperate they are to fix their quarterback curse. And let's not lie to ourselves. The Jets have had quarterback issues for years. This isn't just about fixing a leak. It's about building a new dam boat. But the Browns? They got Shedeur tied up like he's some secret weapon. Too dangerous to use. Too valuable to trade. And somehow still not important enough to actually play. It's the most bizarre kind of limbo. And their solution to all this is to slap an absurdly high trade price on him. Like they're trying upon a rookie QB, as if he's a proven star. A second-round pick? For a guy you don't even trust enough to put on the field? That level of cognitive dissonance is wild. Either you believe in his talent, in which case, why hasn't he played? Or you don't, in which case, why are you pricing him like he's the next Joe Burrow? Pick a lane. Right now, Cleveland's front office is doing that thing where they ghost you for weeks and then act surprised when you move on. And don't think the fans haven't noticed. Browns fans are exhausted. They've stood by through years of rebuilds, quarterback roulette, front office fumbles, and a never-ending stream of next seasons. And now they're watching the team fumble a potential franchise QB. Not because of talent, but because of ego. That's not just disappointing. It's infuriating. There's this unshakable feeling that Cleveland's front office would rather be right than be effective. Instead of admitting they mishandled Sanders, they're doubling down. And in doing so, they're alienating the locker room, confusing fans, and burning bridges with potential trade partners. You cannot simultaneously claim that someone is a key asset and treat them like an afterthought. That kind of inconsistency doesn't just break trust. It breaks teams. And the Jets? They smell the dysfunction. Like sharks circling a sinking ship, they know this is their moment. They see a team in chaos, a coach under pressure, and a player stuck in the middle. And they're banking on that pressure, cracking the Browns' resolve. Honestly, at this point, they might not even care how raw Sanders is. They're more interested in the idea of him, the potential, the upside, the PR win. Because let's face it, if the Jets land Sanders and he even halfway lives up to the hype, that's a W. For a team starving for leadership at the quarterback position, a fresh start with someone like Shedeur could shift the entire narrative. It would be a bold move in a league that rewards boldness. And the Browns? They'd be left holding the receipt for a quarterback they refuse to use, now playing hero for someone else. And that's the poetic tragedy of it all. The Browns could have had something here. A real opportunity. Not just a trade chip, but a spark. A quarterback with vision, poise, a college pedigree, and yes, an entire media empire behind his name. But instead of harnessing that momentum, they buried it under layers of politics, pride, and indecision. And now, with the trade deadline looming like a guillotine, every non-answer from Stefanski feels like a missed opportunity. Every press conference where he deflects instead of decides is another nail in the coffin. The fans want clarity. The media wants movement. The team wants direction. And all they're getting is murky vibes and stubborn silence. What's even more surreal is how normalized this dysfunction has become. Like, we're not even shocked anymore when an NFL team implodes over poor communication and front office politics. We're just like, oh, Cleveland again? Yeah, checks out. That's how low the bar is dropped. And that should terrify Browns leadership. Because if they don't act soon, they're not just risking a trade. They're risking their entire reputation, their credibility, their locker room, and honestly, maybe even Stefanski's job. You can't keep throwing smoke bombs and expect people to believe there's no fire. The NFL isn't just about results. It's about optics. And right now, the optics are bad. This whole debacle is a case study in how quickly a franchise can unravel when leadership refuses to adapt. When a team gets so locked into its own internal narratives that it loses sight of reality. The Browns are so busy trying to maintain control that they're losing the very thing they're supposed to be controlling, their team. And the thing is, it's not too late. Not yet. There's still time to course correct. They can either move Sanders and get something tangible in return, or, radical idea, actually play him. Let him take snaps. Give the fans a reason to believe again. Give the locker room a reason to rally. But whatever they choose, it has to happen now. Because the longer they stall, the more damage they do. The NFL doesn't wait. Fans don't wait. And teams like the Jets, they're already making backup plans. If Cleveland doesn't act, someone else will. And once this window closes, they don't get to open it again with the same leverage. That's the harsh truth of this league. You get one shot to make a bold move. Wait too long, and you're stuck explaining why your best asset is still glued to the bench while your season burns. It's wild that we're talking about all this trade rumors, organizational chaos, ego wars, over a rookie QB with limited playing time. But that's exactly why this story matters. Because it's not just about the player. It's about what he represents. A moment of potential that could either launch a new era or become yet another footnote in Cleveland's long list of missed opportunities. And at the center of it all, Stefanski. Silent, defensive, measured to the point of paralysis. His refusal to commit to anything is shaping the narrative more than any trade report or analyst take. He's become the face of the uncertainty, whether he wants to be or not. And unless he finds the courage to lead decisively, that will be his legacy in Cleveland. Not the coach who changed the game, but the one who hesitated while the game changed without him. So as the trade deadline looms and the media circus reaches peak volume, there's one thing everyone, from fans to reporters to rival teams, is asking. Will the Browns finally make a move? Or will they keep spinning in the same cycle of chaos, hoping no one notices the flames? Because this isn't just drama. It's a decision point. And how Cleveland handles this moment could define not just the rest of their season, but the next several. Just when you think this saga can't spiral any further, here comes the worst part. Nobody seems to be steering the ship. We've seen this story before. Talent squandered because the people in charge can't get out of their own way. Shedeur Sanders isn't just a rookie quarterback caught in a trade rumor. He's become a symbol of the Browns' larger identity crisis. A team that talks about the future, but refuses to take the risks that build one. A franchise that clings to pride while the rest of the league passes them by. Every hour that passes with Sanders in limbo is a signal to the locker room, to other GMs, to the fans, that this team doesn't have a plan. They're reacting, not leading. Making decisions based on optics, not outcomes. And Stefanski's press conferences? They're just the public face of that confusion. The pauses, the carefully worded non-answers. They're not fooling anyone anymore. People see through it. The fans are tired of being told to trust the process, when the process looks like a slow-motion implosion. Meanwhile, over in New York, the Jets are practically foaming at the mouth. They're making calls, pushing buttons, leaking just enough to get the media buzzing. They're moving like a team that knows exactly what they want. And while their obsession with Sanders might seem reckless to some, at least they're making moves. They've picked a direction and committed. That's more than we can say for Cleveland right now. And let's not forget what this kind of indecision does to a young player. Sanders has had to watch this circus unfold in real time, his name tossed around like a trade token. No clarity from the team, no concrete role, Just constant speculation and mixed signals. That messes with a player. Confidence, development, trust. It all takes a hit when leadership can't even define your value. So what's next? The Browns have a choice. A real one. Either accept the reality of the situation and act with purpose, or let it rot from the inside. They can't keep pretending this is normal. They can't keep walking both sides of the line, refusing to trade Sanders and refusing to play him. That middle ground, it's not neutral, it's toxic, and it's slowly pulling the entire franchise into dysfunction. This is their inflection point. Either they take control of the narrative, or they let it consume them. And by the looks of it, the clock is almost out. If you've made it this far, you know this story isn't over. Drop your take in the comments. Should the Browns finally deal Sanders or put him under center and see what he's really made of? Smash the like button if you're watching this circus with popcorn in hand. And subscribe for more of the NFL's most chaotic headlines. Because if there's one thing we've learned from this saga, it's that in Cleveland, clarity is always the first thing to go.